I'm here on Numbers Known again with probably our most famous guest we've ever had. It's going to take me a minute. I've been doing vocal exercises for this introduction, so here it is. Our guest today has more titles than Serena Williams and Katie Ledecky combined. She is the CRO of Luminetics, board advisor for Rework Training, channel leader for Revenue United, owner of GTM Done Right, co-host of Your Future Biz podcast, one of the 100 most powerful women in sales and top 20 in go-to-market. She's a mom. She's the queen of cleaning up poopy pipelines. It's Lindsay Rios.
Wow. I didn't even know I had that many titles.
It's pretty. We should just end the podcast right now. Right? I mean, I don't think I can do better than that.
I feel good. I'm going to quit most of those titles right now. Actually, I've done it.
How are you doing, Lindsay? It's Dance Party Friday. I've been watching your videos and content and thought leadership for quite a while. It's pretty cool to talk to you. What's been going on in your world?
What's been going on in my world? Baseball, honestly. Baseball season, it just takes over my life. It really does.
It is forever, right? I mean, imagine major leagues. Like, you have two sons?
I have three.
Okay, even better odds to make the majors, but like that's 162 games, almost between spring training, playoffs, October. It's virtually the entire year.
It's basically the entire year. So it's like between the length of the season, the length of games, when you go to games, the length of the practice, like I don't really know why I agreed to it, to be quite honest.
I have a list of 3 numbers that are very interesting and intended to spawn conversation as to who you are, why you are the way you are, what you do, what you believe in, kind of what you stand for. Very lofty goal. Hopefully we can get that. You also brought 3 numbers. My first number for you is 0. And I'm relying on some source data both from LinkedIn, Claude, and a podcast you did to hope this is right. 0. Any idea what that is?
Nope. Can't wait to hear about it.
So I'm wading off into the deep end. If this question is good, then this podcast will go well. 0 is the number of med school applications sent. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I know that you were pre-med all the way through undergrad. You sold minis and BMWs. You were in car sales. I was in car sales for a while, and then got into sales and then decided to just do that. I think you were going to become like a pediatric neurologist.
Yep.
Background in psychology. I was a behavioral therapist at an inpatient facility for a while. When I saw this question, I was like, this could be the best interview episode that I've done. So 0 med school applications sent. First question from that is, from that background, what are like the biggest 1 to 2 lessons or takeaways, behavioral or psychological, that you still apply every day in your new set of roles, right? So CRO, sales leadership.
When you're in pre-med of any sort, you have to be a really good student. And what I mean by that is you can't just be like naturally smart and then just kind of get away with it to do a great job. You have to also just be like, oh, I have to be disciplined and I have to learn how to properly study, not like the thing the night before. And when I was like in high school, I didn't really study. And so when you go to a school, like I went to UC Irvine, and everyone there is a nerd and wants to be a doctor, more or less, or an engineer. It's like 2 of their best things. And I mean, you got to up your game. I just really learned about how the really boring and monotonous things that you don't really want to do, though, are the things that will most often set you up for really, like a lot of success. So whenever I'd end up taking like a midterm or a final and someone go, oh, how do you think you did? I would know. I'm like, I got an A on that. And they'd be like, well, how do you know? I'm like, because I know. I knew all the answers. I knew how to take that test. If I left a midterm or a final thinking, I'm not really sure how I didn't prepare, and I probably didn't do well. That's the thing that I saw, even just like getting into sales. It's like, there's a lot of reputation I think salespeople get for just, oh, you're a smooth talker, or you have a great personality. And it's like, that's not actually what makes the best sellers. The best sellers are the ones willing to do the really boring, monotonous, disciplined things. And if you happen to also have a great personality and be a smooth talker and a fantastic active listener, then obviously then you're really going to be great. But that's something that just rings true in sales. It's not the tricks.
I love everything about that answer. The study habits, number 1. going to play that clip for my 12-year-old who figured out this year that study habits are important to have.
There's so much that I have told my people I've managed. It's the exact same things I tell my kids. But nobody makes you feel anyway. So, I mean, you can't make me feel anyway. I make me feel. Like, that's my job, my responsibility, to be responsible for my own emotions and my own reactions. However, that person could be like a major catalyst as to why I'm feeling that way, right? I try to teach my kids constantly to not say that statement, and I try not to say it to them. And I totally still do, but I'll be like, instead of me being like, you guys are making me very upset right now, it's like, you're not responsible for my feelings. However, the actions that are happening right now, it's making it really difficult for me to be the type of mommy that you like being around, right?
Right.
Well, I've had conversations with the people I've managed before, because you get pretty emotional. I mean, in any job, but especially in sales, you really tie your self-worth to like the number on the board, which is something that we really should be doing, but it's what happens. And when you get upset about how things are going, it's going to affect how well you do. So I try to explain to, my sellers, my managers, whomever I was mentoring and leading, there's very few things that we actually have control of in life at the end of the day. So be happy that you get to control your reactions and your behaviors. In sales, you get very frustrated as a seller when you cannot control the outcome, because you're hired and you're responsible for closing revenue, right? You are an outcome-based, performance-based role. And when you feel blocked from being able to do that for whatever reason, whether it's yourself or external factors, you're going to tend to be emotional about it. And the way that you're going to end up reacting is going to dictate kind of what can happen next. So instead of trying to like not take accountability, which is essentially what starts happening, trying to blame it on other things, right? Get actually excited about the fact that you get to control the way that you're going to react or behave next, because there's very little that you really do get to control.
We just did a survey. 89-90% of teams have a process. Only 36% of people follow it. That shows improvisation, and it shows that people aren't being accountable to what's expected of them to do. Well,
there's so many things to unpack there, right? I mean, there's just so many variables as to why that might be happening. Anytime I see people though, they're like, oh, some roles just have to be in person, for the energy or and I am like, it's bullshit. So no, I don't believe that. However, I think, one, like, is your process any good? Yep. Or is it a stupid process, right? Because no one's going to follow processes that are stupid. They're not useful if they're over-processed, under-processed, like so much to just dig into that topic alone. But I would even say before the process exists, what's the relationship between the people that are having to create the process and then the people having to follow the process? And a lot of people don't like hearing that stuff, but like, that's going to kind of be what it comes down to. I mean, do your sellers care about you? Do they want to listen to you? Do they respect you? Are you helpful to them? Do you make their jobs more successful? Because if that's not the kind of relationship that's already happening, I don't care what process you ask them to do. They're not going to follow it.
Your first number. You're
3.
Up. 3. I learned earlier that's the amount of kids you have. Is that, there we go. Look at that.
Yeah.
1 for 1.
Yeah, you almost I got 3 boys.
You're somebody that is very much in this executive space, a CRO at Luminetics. How do you find time to be like baseball mom and do these different roles and be in the seats that you're in and like add value to other people, manage teams? Like, how do you find the time to do all of that? What does that priority matrix look like?
Have you seen that clip of, what's that guy's name? Like Ron Fuchs or something like that? That comedian? He's really funny.
Probably.
Oh, Funches. Not Fuchs. You'd recognize him if you saw him. But he's on, I don't know if it's like Kelly Clark, some talk show, and they're like, you do everything, or you do, like, how do you do it all? And he just goes, I don't. I'm very tired.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Right. And so I get asked that a lot because I'm very open and I share on LinkedIn about like all the things that I do. So I think it gives that appearance. But I mean, that's my response. I'm like, oh, I don't do everything. And I am very tired. But what I will actually say to that is when I sold cars, I was doing that for 5 years, which is a culture that is pretty terrible usually overall, certainly has nothing to do with trying to have any life balance, and definitely not great for when you are a mom in particular. Like maternity leave was like not properly done at the dealership I was at, just because like they were not accustomed to having to know what to do with a woman having a baby. When I left that, I was very, very lucky to have gone to a really great startup for 5 years. And it was also local. I live in the East Bay of the Bay Area. I do not live near San Francisco. Getting to San Francisco is very difficult. And at that time, that's where you would go if you wanted to work for startups and tech companies, right? And when you're young and you want to live in the city with like 10 other people in a closet, like good for you, right? But I didn't want to do that. And I didn't live, and I already had a family. It was about me sticking to my non-negotiables, about what was most important to me as to why I wasn't interested in going into the city for those roles too. It wasn't about being unwilling to like start, at a low level and work up. It was really more about that's a non-negotiable because of my family is my priority. Then when I left that startup we're getting acquired, I actually went to HubSpot and was fully remote. And they were really trying to coin the fully remote thing before the pandemic happened. So we had, a baby, we had one that was going off to college, and then we had a 4-year-old, and it was like, oh, he's going to start kindergarten. And I just remember being like, I'm never going back to an office ever again. No matter what happens from here on out, I will not be doing that. Now, I get to say that because I'm in an industry where remote is a possibility. My husband doesn't. So, there's that. But I have never gone back to even considering a job that would require me to be in an office and or commute. And I tell people all the time, they're like, you could work for Salesforce, you could do this and you can make all this money. And I'm like, I don't care. So the reason why I can take my kids to baseball and I can have my own business and I can create content on LinkedIn that supports my business and I can whatever else is because I chose it to be that way.
I love that. I love that it's a non-negotiable. My second number for you, 1,014.
Okay.
This is a deep cut. These are all attempted to be deep cuts, but here it is. 1,014 is the percentage that Chris Harbert grew by after joining the Next Wave by Luminetics. There's a post about it. Impressions are up 1,000%. Engagement up 1,500%. He said, "Your boy was boring as you can fill in the blank." And the TLDR, like he found his voice in his POV. Finally, the quote was, "Finally sounds like somebody worth listening to." My question for that: how deeply do you believe that your POV/voice is something that, one, everyone can learn to do, and two, everyone should learn to do?
I know I used the word should earlier. I notice it every time I do. I really try to actually not ever use that word though. But that being said, every single person has a point of view. I may not like it. I may not agree with it, but everyone has one. Everyone could be sharing it really, really well. And, dare I say, I'll flirt with should. Like, yes, you should. Everyone should be talking about their point of view. More people are terrified than not to do it. I only started doing anything actively on LinkedIn less than 3 years ago. And I did it when I started my fractional business because I knew that I had to start creating a personal brand and I wanted something to contribute to my pipeline. But I didn't know that I was sharing a point of view in particular when I started writing things. Someone had told me like, yeah, you're really unapologetic about sharing your point of view. And it made me, I'm like, oh, like I almost took it as like, oh, am I like a little, like in an aggressive way, And he was like, no, it's just, you're standing out because not a lot of people will do it. They'll post something, whether they do it on purpose or not, hoping people will agree with them. right? They're doing it because they want people to go, yes. That's not how you're posting. You're posting whether someone agrees with you or not. This is your opinion about how you should be successful in writing a strategy or how to grow your revenue or whatever it might be. I didn't have a worry if someone was going to agree with me or not. I was just doing it because that's what I believed. So it doesn't have to be so serious, but when you're doing it for even just like work related, if you only post something hoping that people agree, one, you'll never stand out. And then two, like, how will anyone know what you stand for? How would they know they want to work with you or hire you? Be your customer of any sort. We connect with each other as human beings before we're going to care about, can you solve my problem? Because here's the thing, it's really rare out there. I know we all don't like hearing this, but like, it's rare that we're the only company or the only person who can solve someone's problem. There's a lot of people who do the same thing or companies that do the same thing. So where are we going to go when we need it solved? We're going to go with the person we like doing it with.
Just before the call, going through some event content footage and interviews that we did. And one of those was about it, or like, what's more important, the badges, the accreditations, the website, like the experience, or the method in which you deliver. And I've been part of like threads, emails, close one revenue that was like, everything else was roughly the same. The way that you guys ran your sales process and showed up and had an opinion and were consultative and not like, that made the difference. So it's actually not what you were offering or a cost. It was how you showed up that was the, differentiating factor.
Yeah.
Man, I can see why you're on all these lists now of 100 most powerful women. And so like you're on the Mount Rushmore already, and we're only in question 2.5. Your second number for you, 3 was the first. Number of kids helps you with non-negotiables. What is the second number? I'll see if I can guess this one also.
7.
Is it your lucky bingo number?
No, I've never been good at bingo.
I have no idea. What is 7?
When Mandy and I decided we wanted to start doing something together, she kind of mentioned something around 7, like being a number that she's always liked. And no, I don't know if it's in our thread. I'm trying to remember like how it brought up, but something had happened recently too, where I was like, yeah, like something about 7 for me happened that was really good too. And it was because we were trying to decide how we wanted to price the next week. By the way, people, like half the time when you're trying to create pricing for your stuff, it's literally like, we'll try this. It really can be. I mean, you have to do a certain level of research, but we're like, okay, this is where we know this should be priced overall, but what's the actual number we want to use? And so then there was something about 7. So what you'll find, a little Easter egg, is Mandy and I always have 7 at the end of the pricing of the things that we have. It's $97 if you do the monthly. It's $9.97 when you're doing yearly, for our like first tier, like, self-serve kind of like one. And when we're doing our larger clients with the bigger things, it'll always end up in a 7.
How many people have asked about that as like a pricing factor? Does that also serve as like an icebreaker or to build rapport or trust? Or is that just, like you said, an Easter egg of sorts?
It's I don't think anyone, so far.
I'm asking about it now.
Yeah.
I'm the first one.
Now, you're first person because I pointed it out, but like no one's actually been like, so what's the deal with all your 7s?
Love it. That, if anything, to me is like an element of personality, and it's a way to differentiate, right? So POV could be that. I don't think copy or branding applies to as many people anymore that especially use AI to enhance or augment or whatever, but something that it's like the blue dot theory or purple dot theory, right? If you have a whole wall that's white and you have one dot on it, people are going to immediately notice that as the thing that stands out, right? So in a sea of competitors or pricing pages where it's all very, very copy pasted, having just that on there can be a differentiator. I like it. I will keep your secret safe until this comes out.
It's okay. It's not a secret.
I have one more. I know I'm hoping you're good on time for one more because we have yapped. This one is the craziest one. I'm going to try to shorten this. 54 is my third number. You're never going to guess, so I'll just tell you.
Okay.
It's a long-winded, this is going to be a journey. As of April 2026, Major League Baseball's automated balls and strikes system has a roughly 54% success rate in overturning calls, over 1,000 plus. I think it's 1,300 challenges used. Catchers have been the most successful people, like 64%, hitters under 50%. All right, where the hell am I going? I know that you were a baseball mom. The best people in the world at evaluating criteria for whether something is a ball and strike are successful about 50% of the time. So when we talk about accountability, measurement, even the capacity to measure something, right, whether it be in a CRM or in a process, is like one of the most important things you can do. And even the best people in the world need like legitimately robotic assistance to do that. The question becomes like, I mean, it's what I wrote down earlier. Is your process stupid? Are you actually helping your people? Is it a process or people issue when it comes to accountability, when it comes to following what the expectations are?
Yeah, well, I just don't think it's one or the other, usually ever. I have two very like core offerings that I do for my fractional business. One is called ICP-AF, which actually technically stands for Aligned Framework, but does it. And then the other one is the Forecast Fix, which is when I fix poopy pipelines. And the thing is if you look at it, there's kind of three main phases for each of these offerings. It's a combination of very people-y things and processy data things. When a company has a poopy pipeline problem, that is not as simple as, it's just some rev ops that needs to be done. No, because there's a big cultural shift that we're going to have from literally your brand new SDR that started today to you as the CEO and founder. Like, you need to understand that there is a culture that is created in organizations about pipelines and how we treat them, why we do or don't care about them. And then us as leaders about how we teach and enforce the pipelines to be done. And then there's the whole and then there's a way that you create the actual CRM systems and how many properties do you require to be filled out and not, and all that, because when you require too many, they will always figure out a way to bypass it. It's not helpful. You don't require enough. You don't get good data. I need both really as accurate as possible data and opinions and culture and insight from sellers and leaders to be able to make a great forecast happen. It cannot be one or the other.
Another metaphor, because I like metaphors to understand things, is if your son is trying to go from 65 to 75 or 75 to 85, pitching, right, miles per hour. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what the number is initially, as long as you know what it is so that you can improve it. If I'm doing a half marathon, I don't start out by running a half marathon. I probably need to know what my mile time is and what my metrics are so that I can inform a program that is based on iterating improvements rather than just not knowing what the metric is that I'm aiming to improve. Your thoughts?
Yeah, actually that was, I did a live last week around social selling. And mainly around DMs and how to do it well. And one of the things I did talk about was the goals, the KPIs around it, and why it was important. Because if you want to use DMs as a method of contributing to your pipeline, then you should probably create some very simple goals around how many are you doing? How well are they going? Which are the most effective? How much time is this taking you, right? Because otherwise you won't know if it's actually worth doing, right? So giving yourself a baseline, like you said, just to know what am I doing and then how is it going is, I think, just undervalued a lot in general. I mean, sometimes I think if you've come from very early stage, like I have, and I still coach founders that are in founder-led, so before inception of even company, it's so tough because you don't have metrics to go off of. And so you have to create almost not fake ones, but baseline things.
You can't have conversion rate if you don't have something, you know what I mean? That type of initial metric or KPI parameter. Did you send 30? Yeah. We can't evaluate if they're good or they're working until you've done that.
Right.
Is that kind of what you're getting at?
So the podcast that Mandy and I have, Your Future Biz, the way it's designed is it actually starts at inception of company all the way through the whole customer journey of what you do and what you build. And the first real episode is kind of about like, okay, do you have anything here, and how do you test it and validate it? And one of the tips that we say is like, well, you should probably go talk to 100 people that you think could be your ICP, because you're not fully sure yet. And then see if it's really a real problem that you can solve. But I don't want you to just go find 100. I want you to find 10 a week first. Once you did that 10, what did you learn from that 10? And then how can you narrow that for the next 10, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's a big difference than going and just grabbing 100 people at one time and doing it in those steps.
I feel like I said earlier, the future of sales is marketing. I know that's a bit of a stretch, but I also believe the future of marketing is customer experience. Right. So in the same vein, it's the most impactful thing I've done here is this. I mean, you're not a customer, but talking to customers is like, I know what we say about the product. What do you use it for? And it's like mind blowing, the type of feedback you get. Your third number, what is it, Lindsay?
So my third number is 14.
I do love the number 14. I have no idea what it
is. I don't think I've ever written about it either. So it's not like something someone could search for necessarily. So 14 was the age I was when I quit ice skating. And I had been a very competitive ice skater for nearly 8 years. And, it kind of becomes like your identity when you're in a sport like that, when you do it that long. And I should have quit probably easily a year before I did, probably 2. And I came downstairs one morning, because when you are an ice skater, you have to do it. I don't know why, but you have to do it early in the morning before school starts. I just had like tears, like I wasn't like crying, just like tears, kind of coming out of my eyes. My mom just went, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" And I just went, "I don't want to be an ice skater anymore." And she just went, "Oh, thank God." And I never went back. And I was so attached to not quitting that I was willing to be unhappy about it for that long and do a really good job at not like bullface lying, but like being able to convince my own parents that this was what I still really wanted to do. And it was also the realization that I wasn't going to be the next Christy Yamaguchi, which is what I wanted to be since I was 3, right? Yeah. Like when I saw her win gold, I was like, that is what I want to do. And you have to be honest with yourself to know, like, I'm not good enough to do that.
Did you experience some level of that too? Not transitioning is probably the wrong word, but like, this dream is over. I'm aware of it. Now what the hell am I supposed to do? Like, what do I turn all this dedication and energy and enthusiasm towards?
Parents say you can be anyone you want to be. You can do whatever you want. I've learned that it's actually not great. There's flip sides to everything. So my favorite therapist I've ever had, I don't remember what I was talking to her about essentially, but she ended up asking me like, did you have parents that were like really supportive? And I was like, yeah, you're the best. She was like, okay. And then, she kind of asked me a little bit more, but I could sense that it wasn't like, that's so good for you. Well, one, I think it can sometimes create a little bit of delusion for some people and some personality types, right? You see those kids that are really horrible at something and the parents are like, you can do whatever you want to do, instead of being like, look, this isn't going to be your thing. Let's figure out what is your thing. When I suddenly lost my favorite job I ever had, when I had full-time jobs, it was so hard for me. It was just, my role was so suddenly made redundant. And my CEO, even had told me like, this was a very sudden decision. I could tell, because I'm like, I would have known, right? Like I just felt like the rug was pulled under me more than anything that ever happened. And I had put so much, again, of like my identity as being like an executive revenue leader, and it was gone in an instant. And so I felt like I'm never going to find a job like this again, where the company is the way it was, which is not true, but like, it was just, and I did it again. It was kind of like this identity thing. So I, you look back and I'm like, while I would have never suggested that anyone have it happen the way it did for me, to now have my own business and do the things I've been doing for, almost 3 years now, I had to go through again, realizing so many times, like, my title has nothing to do with how valuable my work is. The amount of the OTE has nothing to do with how good I am at what I'm doing or whatever, or like a milestone in my life. Like, a lot of those things that you just get really attached to when you're working and you care about career progression a lot and things like that. So, there's so many things now that I look at with my kids where I'm like, you can technically be anything you want to be to an extent, but also
asterisk.
Yeah. Well, like, my 12-year-old wants to be a professional basketball player. Like, that's genuinely his like thing right now. And I'm like, all right. What else do you want to also do? Right.
I appreciate it, Lindsay.
Yeah, of course.
If you saw this, please subscribe. God, my kid's going to make fun of me for saying that. Go check out our YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Subscribe.
Yeah, BSCN. Thank you for watching this episode of Numbers Known, and we'll see you next time.